There is no apps without forms. And in our app, we need those forms in sign in and sign up and edit profile and creating orders. So how to handle the forms in easy way, that's what I'm gonna taught you in this lesson. In this lesson, you're gonna learn how to handle forms like a professional. We're gonna use this wonderful library, React Hook Form. If you open the npm of this, the npm page of this library, you're gonna notice that there's about 500 millions of weekly downloads because this library is wonderful and you can use it with React.js and React Native too. Now let's go to our code and to install this library, React Hook Form. We have here in our app, it's a basic component. Let's open our terminal, yarn add React Hook Form, and let's install it. After we install it, don't forget, if you are using Android, the task is done, but if you are using iOS, you need to open the iOS folder and run bod install. And after the bod install, you need to rerun your app again. Now after we have installed our package and our bods, let's type our code. First, let's import our two very important components. Import use form and controller. I'm gonna tell you how to use them later from React Hook Form. Okay, let's create the UI quickly. Let's give this view a style of styles dot container, and let's go to this container. Let's give it a felix of 1, justify content of center, align items center to center all of our components. Okay, okay, let's replace this text with React Hook Form example and React Native. Okay, let's create our text input and style it. Text input. The placeholder is gonna be enter your name, and let's give it style of styles.input. Let's go down here and add the input styles. Let's give it a border width of 1, border radius of 10, padding of 10, width 90%, margin top 18, border color gray. That's our input. Now that's our text input. You can use it and you can type here whatever you want. Okay, let's now use our React Hook Form to control this input and also to handle errors and to handle state in easy way. Okay, how to do this? Now let's use React Hook Form and make this text input controlled. Okay, let's first get some variables from this wonderful hook. Let's destruct this hook and get those 3 things. First, the control. This control is a property holds the form control object which manage the state of this text input and also to manage his validation rules. You can think about it, it's something like a connection between the input and the form state. Okay, so that's the control property. The second property is handle submit. Handle submit is a function provided by React hook form, and it's used to handle the form submissions. I mean, when we click the button, okay? Third, let's import form state. And this property is a property for accessing the state of the input, okay, of the text input, including the error. So we can take from it the errors. Those are the errors of those text input, because we're gonna have errors. For example, if we just type invalid email or invalid password, okay, as you're gonna see later. Now we need to wrap this text input component inside a controller. I know that's not the best code, because we need to separate this code inside files. Don't worry, we're gonna do this in next lesson. We're gonna create a custom controlled text input, but let me just give you this in this lesson the idea of this React hook form and how to use it, okay? So now that's our controller. Inside it, we're gonna pass this property of control. Control equals to control, okay? To control our input. Second property is the render. You can render here a text input, you can render here a radio button, whatever you want. And in this lesson, we're gonna handle the text input. Later, we're gonna handle the radio button and checkboxes, dates, and so on. So in this render, we're gonna return our text input. So let's take this text input here. Let's just format our code like this, okay? And inside this render, we're gonna pass or destruct some important property. We're gonna destruct from the field. This field is a property provided by React hook form, and this property, it's about an object. This object contains the event handlers. The event handlers, like what? Like, for example, on change, on blur, and the value of this text input. And we're gonna pass those properties to our text input. So here, the value equals to the value we're gonna take here from React hook form, because we are connecting our text input with our controller. On blur, please, if you don't understand me, don't worry. This lesson is very easy, but it's something new to you, so don't worry about it. On change equals to on change, or let's make this on change text equals to on change. We're gonna just connect our native text input properties of on blur, on change, and the value with the field object property from React hook form to make this text input controlled. Okay, let's format our code and press save. Oops, we got here an error. Why we got here an error? I'm happy to face this error with you to teach you how to resolve it. Any controller must have a property called name. Without this property, you're gonna have this error. This is very important property because you have to give it a name to make it a key different from other inputs, because here in this lesson we're gonna use three inputs: input for name, input for email, input for password. So let's give every one of them a name. Let's make this the name of user name, and let's press save. Now the error is gone. That was our input, our first input controller. You can create a button here to create a test, title with submit. On press is gonna be handle submit. Handle submit is this function here we destructed from use form hook. Okay, and inside this function we're gonna pass our function. For example, let's create it here. Const submit equals to, let's take our data. We take this data from the handle submit, and let's just console.log it. Console.log the data, and let's pass this submit here, and let's press save. What we've done here, when we on press this button, we've just connect this button with the data from use form or React hook form, because this handle submit is a function. We take it from this hook to connect those inputs with this button, and inside this function we're gonna pass our main function. You can type any function that you want here, and just don't forget to give it this parameter. Okay, let's open our log and see. If we just submit here, username is undefined. Let's type anything, for example, AAAA, and press submit. Look, username is AAA. Let's create another input for email. Okay, let's just take a copy of this, just a copy of this, and let's change something. And let's change things here. Let's make this email. Okay, let's make this enter your email. Okay, and that's it. Look, easy, isn't it? Now we have here an input for username and an import for email, and let's press submit. When we submit, look, we have here a username and email. We need to add some rules to email. For example, this is not a valid email. We want to add errors here, because if we just I type invalid email, an error appear here. Okay, how to add errors to our controller? That's very easy. I'm gonna tell you. Here in username, we want to make it required. So just inside here, this controller component, just type rules, and inside this rules you have here a lot of things like depth, max length, min length, pattern. If you want to use regular expression, we want to make it required, so just make it required true, and let's make it min length of 5. Okay, and let's press save. Now if we just remove this and press submit, we didn't submit it because we have here an error. To show you the error, let me just show you the error. We're gonna just take this errors object. Okay, errors dot name, sorry, dot username, and if we have error dot username, that's the name of the controller, just render a text. Inside text, just type name as required. Okay, let's give this text some styling. Styles dot text error, and let's define this style down here. Let's just give it the color of red, and let's press save. Look, name is required. You have to add the name here. Without the name, you're gonna face this error. Name is required, and you cannot log it here. Look, if we just press submit, we don't have here anything. Let me replace this console.log with alert to make things clear to you. Alert.alert json.stringify the data, because this data is an object. We want to stringify it. So if we just add a name here and press submit, we have here the username and the email. But if we don't have anything here and press submit, this function will not trigger because we have here an error. Okay, let's add the error to an email too. So here in our controller, let's add rules. What is the rules of email? Let's make it required is true. And let's add a pattern to it. What is the pattern? It's a regular expression. You can take it from the internet or whatever you want. This regular expression to make a valid email. It's not the best regular expression, but it's just for now. Okay, and let's press save. And now let's try to submit. Oops. We don't have here an error, so we need to add this text like here. And let's copy it and paste it here. And let's add the error for the email. And let's make this enter a valid email. It is just this text, it's just an error message like above here. So now here, when we add a valid email at gmail.com, now we don't have here an error, and this name is required. When we add a name and press submit, now everything is work perfectly. We can get the values of our inputs. It was a little bit hard lesson. Don't worry, in next lesson we're gonna separate this code. We're gonna create a custom form input or a custom text input with his error message, and we're gonna use yup resolver to handle errors. We don't need to use these rules. There is another way better than this, using yup. Okay, so don't miss the next lesson, and see you later. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and the like button if you like this video. In previous lesson, we've learned how to use React hook form and how to control a text input in React Native. But if you have a look at this code, it's not the best practice. It's not the best code that we can do. I mean, it's not the purpose of React. We want to separate this code into components and make those components reusable. I mean, I want to create a controlled form input. It's one component and we call it when we want it. This will save us a lot of code repeating. Okay, how to do this? That's easy. First, let's open our components folder. Inside our components folder, let's create a new folder called controllers. Okay, inside it, let's create a new file. Let's call it form input controller.tsx, and let's create a React Native component. Okay, now let's move our code from app.tsx to this component, to this new component. So let's take a copy of all of this code. Let's cut it. Okay, and let's go and paste it here like this. Okay, first let's do the necessary imports. For example, this import, let's import it from React hook form, import controller from React hook form. Then let's import our text input from React Native. Let's copy the styles from app.tsx. Let's go here and copy this styling from here and paste it here. Okay, and let's copy also the text error from app.tsx. Let's copy it and paste it here. Let's format this code. Okay, now let's add some properties like control, okay, and errors. We need to pass them here. And also, we don't to leave here any static thing. Let's make all of things dynamic. For example, the name, let's convert it to a prop. So let's add a property here called name and pass it here. Okay, don't worry about those red lines. At the end of this lesson, I'm gonna add TypeScript. So those are just TypeScript issues. Okay, we have here also a placeholder. So let's pass it as a property. like this. Placeholder equals to placeholder from properties. Okay, let's leave these rules. Let's comment it or delete it, because those rules we want to make it also dynamic, not static, and we're gonna use yup validation and create a good validation using yup library. So let's remove this line of code and let's comment this too. The error message, we're gonna handle this process in next lesson using yup in the very easy way. Okay, now let's press save and go and use our form input controller. Let's run our app. Now we've run our app. How to use our input then? Let me show you. First, you're gonna import it. It names form input controller. Okay, and you're gonna pass the properties. The first property is the control. We're gonna take it from our use form hook. The next property is the name, and it's very important property. This property is gonna be user name to make this our controller unique. Okay, third property is placeholder. Placeholder as user name, and let's press save. Why our input is not taking the width? Let me check very quick. The width, yes, I know why. Let's remove this view and this view and add this comment here, and let's press save. Now it works perfectly. Let's replace this email. Okay, what are we gonna do? Just we're gonna add another form input controller. We're gonna pass the control of control. Then we're gonna pass the name as email like this. And finally the placeholder like this. Now, if you see, we can get rid of all of this code. Look. Now let's press save and let's try to add a username. And let's type any email, anything. We didn't add the validation yet. And let's press submit. Look, username is user, email is this email that we have entered. Let's press OK. Now it's easy to add any new controller. Let's just format our code like this to make it better. We got here a TypeScript error. We're gonna fix it at the end of the video. It's better to type TypeScript when you are working, but I don't want to confuse you, so I'm leaving to later. Okay, let's create another one for password form input controller. Let's first pass the control equals to control. Then let's pass the name. It's gonna be password. Third, let's add the placeholder. It's gonna be password as well. And let's press save. Now we have 3 inputs, but we have here a thing. If we just type anything here, we want to make this password as a secure entry. So let's add this property, secure text entry. It's not gonna work, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because here in our form input controller, we didn't pass the rest of this text input properties like secure text entry. Here it works, but there it will not work. So we want to pass the rest of properties. How to do this? That's pretty easy. Just add this object here and spread the props. I mean the other props, and just add it here. Spread it here. Okay. Now if you press save and go there, when we add here secure text entry with true, it's gonna work. When we add it false, password will be shown. So let's make it true. If we just keep it like this, that means it's true. Okay. So now we have here an email, a username, a password with secure text entry. Now you can add any form input controller as you want, 5, 4, 6, whatever you want. I want to mention last thing. If you go here in text input, you're gonna notice that we have here some choices are provided. For example, keyboard type, we have here decimal, email address, number pad. But if we go there in app.tsx and we just add anything, we don't have here any options to choose from. How to solve this problem? TypeScript is gonna solve it. So now let's go and add TypeScript to our component. Now let's add TypeScript to our reusable component. Okay, first let's create our interface. Let's create it here. Interface, form, input, controller, props, and let's pass our property. First, the control property is gonna be control. We import it from React hook form. It's a type we imported from there, and we're gonna pass in it field values from also React hook forms. Okay, that's the first property. The second property is errors. This errors, let's make it optional for now, and let's import field errors from React hook form also, and let's add inside it also the field values. Then the name, this name is gonna be string, and this is required and very important. The placeholder is gonna also be string. Finally, the props or other props is gonna be text input props. Text input props. Okay, now let's connect this interface with our components. Let's just add here, import the FC from React. We import it from React, and let's pass inside it our interface name. Now let's format our code. Now our code looks better than before. Now let's press save, and let's go then to our app.tsx. We still have here errors. Why we have errors? Let's see. The property props is missing. Let's go and make it optional. And let's press save. We still have here error. This property is not provided. So let's use it from props. So if you want to add props, just type props and open a new object and just type any property that you want. Look here, you can here see the options are provided. For example, you can add secure text entry. Look, it appears to us, and let's make it true. Now let's press save. Why this property is not working? I don't know why. This should be hidden. Let's go and check form input controller and see. Here's props. Yes, we need to remove this 3 dots and press save. Now it works. Now let's add any name and any email, and let's press submit. Now we have here username, email, and password, and we add here TypeScript. Don't miss the next video. We're gonna add validation using yup, because this is not a valid email, so we want to add some rules to this email. Okay, thanks for watching, and see you in next time. In previous lesson, we've learned how to create form input controller to be a reusable component and use it in different places. That was our component. But we didn't handle its validation. We've handled only the values and how to change its value and so, but we didn't handle the validation. For example, we want to create a validation for this email and username and this password. Okay, we're gonna learn that in this lesson. If you see here, we're gonna use those 2 wonderful packages, yup and hook form resolvers. This yup package is a package for validating the inputs. Okay, so now let's install it inside our terminal. Let's add yarn add yup, and let's install the other package called hook form slash resolvers. Let's copy this name and paste it here and press enter to install those two packages. If you are using Android, your job is done. But if you are using iOS, you need to install the bot after installing those two packages. So just open cd iOS, open the iOS folder, and just add bot install and press save to install the bots. After you install the bots, just run your project. Now we have here our project. Let's start coding. As I've mentioned before, if you see here, when you just type any email and press submit, he logs the email without any validation errors. This is not a valid email. We need to add some validations. How to add those validations? Here inside app.tsx, we need to import those two imports. Import asterisk as yup from yup. Okay. Also import yup resolver from hook form resolvers yup. Okay, we need those two imports. Second, we need to create our schemas. So let's create our schema here. Const form schema, for example, equals to yup dot object. Inside this object, you just add your rules. For example, the rule of email. I want to mention a very important thing. The name here must be the name here. For example, username, email, and password. So let's make this password with small b. Okay, username and email and password. First, let's add the rules for email. The rules is gonna be yup dot string, because this email is a string. Okay, dot email, and let's add a message. For example, let's make it please enter a valid email. Okay, please enter a valid email. Dot, we want to make it required, so let's add email as required. Okay, this is the rule for the email. Let's add the rule for username. You just type username. It's gonna be yup dot also string dot, let's make it required. Let's make it required, and let's add a message to tell them it's required. Let's just type username as required. You can add some rules. For example, you can add here the matches to add regular expression. You can add here the max, the min length, and so you can add some rules, whatever you want. Okay, let's make it min of 3 characters, and let's just type username must be at least 3 characters. Okay, finally, let's create a validation for password. Let's make it yup.string, and let's make it also required. and let's just type password is required. This is a message when this is the message, the error message will appear to user if he didn't enter his password. Okay, and let's make its min of 8 characters, and let's add a message to tell user password must be at least 8 characters. Okay, now we've done with our schema. We're gonna move this schema inside a single folder, but now let me show you the idea. Okay, I don't want to hesitate you. Okay, now inside our hook form here, just add this property resolver. Okay, and inside resolver, just use this yup resolver. Okay, and inside it, just put our schema. Now let's press save and let's try to press submit. Look, we didn't have anything. Why we didn't have anything? Because if you log here the errors, log errors, look, we have here 3 errors. Email is required. And we have here another error, password is required. And another error, username is required. But we didn't show those errors here. Why? Because in our form input controller, I commented this line. We need to add this line to handle those errors. Okay, but first let me show you the errors is in formatted way. Let's add JSON.stringify. If you want to stringify an object and make it appear in formatted way, just add JSON.stringify and add those 2 arguments, null and 3, and press save. Now if you see our errors here, we have email error, username error, password error. Okay, let's go here to our form input controller and uncomment this. Uncomment this, and here too. Okay, we need here to add some fragment. We want here to add some fragments because in React you must return one thing, not 2 things. Okay, now if you see here, that's the error properties. Let's make this condition. If we have errors and we have errors of property name, this name that we pass here, look, email or username or password. And if you see our object, we have here email, username, and password. So we here just want to get access to this property, email, username, and password. Okay, so we pass here the name. Okay, what are we gonna render here? We're gonna just render errors of name, for example, errors of email or errors of username or errors of password. And from this name, just get the message, because we have here many things. We have here message, type, and ref. We want to get access to this message to show it here. And let's press save. Now let's press submit. Oops, we didn't have anything here yet, and I know why. Because we didn't pass the errors here. We render this component for form input component, but we didn't pass this property here. So we need to add this property, and let's pass the errors from React hook form inside it and press save. And let's repeat the same step here in email. Errors equals to errors that we get from React hook form, and here too, errors equals to errors. Now we can here show our errors. Username is required. If we add something, it say username must be at least 3 characters. So it should be more than 3 characters. If we press submit, we didn't get anything because we've blocked. You can change the rules. So you can make this 3, for example, 5, and, and make this 5. For example, if you press save, you're gonna notice here username must be at least 5 characters. So you have to increase it more than 5. Email, you can add here anything, but look, it says please enter a valid email. So you have to add a valid email. And password is required. If we just type something, it must be at least 8 characters. So you have to increase it. Now, if you press submit, great. You're not blocked anymore. You can log the username, the email, the password, because no validation errors. You filled anything correctly. So now let's format our code here. And it's better to put this form schema inside a single folder. For example, let's create a folder here and inside src. Where should we put it? For example, we can put it inside constant. Inside constant, let's add a folder called schemas. Inside this folder, let's create a file, whatever you want. For example, let's make this register or user schemas. User or auth schemas. You have to take care of your name. .ts. And just copy this and paste it here. When you paste it here, you just need to import YAP library. So just copy this line of code and paste it here. And you need to export it like that. Export const schema. Now press save and go here. Delete this code. You don't need it anymore. And also delete that. And just import form schema. Import form schema from src constants schemas auth schemas and press save. It should work as expected. So look here, it works as expected. The errors appear, but this is a better code because you put anything inside separated folder. Let's format it. I just formatted. If you want to format it, just highlight it and press Command KF or Control Command and F to format it like that. And here also app.tsx. Now you've learned it in this lesson how to create a validation to your text input. I hope you understand this lesson. If you have any questions, just leave it in the comments and see you in next lesson. And don't forget the source code is provided. Thanks for watching and see you.